Now we're crossing to former British MP and host of the mother of all talk shows, George Galloway. George, good to see you. Your reaction to the lack of response from the UK government, considering a British journalist was injured by IDF fire?
Well, however angry the Russian Foreign Ministry is, they're not more angry than me. Steve Sweeney is a brave and outstanding journalist, a countryman of mine, a former member, in fact, of my party, the Workers' Party of Britain. And he has been bringing to a worldwide audience outstanding reports from the scene of yet another Israeli massacre of Lebanon. And his life was very nearly cut short by a ferocious missile. I must say, if there's any silver lining in this, it's that we now know what it feels like, what it sounds like for an Israeli missile to be fired at you. It was utterly horrifying. I watched it live, as a matter of fact. I was completely astounded. And when I saw the behavior of the Israeli ambassador in Moscow, the arrogance, the smug, smirking arrogance on his face and in his voice, it told you everything you need to know about this rogue state of Israel. Now, as to the British, they annually put out propaganda which says journalism is not a crime. They say journalism is not a crime.
You know, the video of that attack that
you saw
Stephen Ali,
his behavior. No, I was talking about the British. Every year they put out propaganda from the Foreign Office which boldly states journalism is not a crime. Well, it turns out the journalism of their friends is not a crime, but the journalism of those critical of the policies they're supporting, well, you can kill them if you like. They used to put that out, by the way, when Julian Assange was rotting in Belmarsh prison. So irony is not dead in the British Foreign Office, but their statement about the attempted assassination of a British citizen, a journalist, was so puerile as to be laughable if it were not so serious. So this is happening every day to people who don't have cameras. This is happening every day to people who are not journalists, whose homes, churches, mosques, and workplaces, including some of the oldest places in civilization. Tyre, T-Y-R-E, it used to be called Phoenicia. The Phoenicians were the kings of the seas. It is the oldest inhabited place on God's earth, is being systematically destroyed by these same kind of missiles. So my heart goes out to Steve and Ali, and I'm incredibly glad that they are safe. But what we now have seen close up and personal is what Israel is doing to Lebanon.
And what about the British public, George?
For 40 years.
Yeah, the British public, surely they're wising up to these sorts of... I mean, the video has been spread all across social media. So many people have seen it. How do you think the British public are going to react to this clear lack of concern from Downing Street, especially if we consider the recent crackdowns we've seen on pro-Palestinian protesters as well in the UK?
The British government, and I would argue the American government, have both destroyed their governments. They've destroyed the political position of their leaders for Israel. Keir Starmer did it during the slaughter in Gaza. He's doing it again, allowing the American bombers to load up their carpet bombing material in English airfields. The Keir Starmer government has no chance at all of surviving any future elections. Local elections in a few weeks, parliamentary elections at some point in the next 3.5 years. The American government has done the same. Donald Trump is at the lowest conceivable ebb in public opinion in the United States, and it's all been done for Israel. So the British government's response Pythonesque Mr. Bean response to the attempted murder of a British journalist, a prominent one at that, a famous one at that, will not have come as any surprise to the public in Britain, I'm sorry to say.
We've reached out to West Jerusalem for a response. Nothing yet. Do you think we'll hear anything back?
Well, they've murdered 200 journalists already, in excess, actually, of 200 journalists. And some of those were American citizens. And but for the grace of God, we'd be talking about a slain British journalist in this interview right now. The Israelis are a law unto themselves. They do exactly what they want and to whom they want. And nobody seems able to stand up to them. If I was the Russian Foreign Ministry, I'd be furious about the ambassador's lack of remorse and his smug arrogance as he came out from what was presumably a severe dressing down in the Foreign Ministry. These people think that they rule the world. They think of themselves, as they often tell us, as chosen people.
And yet, you know, the Russian Foreign Ministry, as you say, they've expressed a huge amount of concern for Steve Sweeney and his crew, despite them not even being Russian citizens. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, if you're attacking RT journalists, you're attacking Russia. Now, Russia has, well, let's put it delicately, a somewhat complex relationship with Israel. And if Israel is going to do that to RT journalists, who are they not prepared to kill? The Russian superpower, the Russian permanent five member, the Russian government. It's only a couple of years ago on Victory Day that Netanyahu dropped in and walked the distance on Victory Day alongside President Putin. And now his jets just tried to murder RT journalists. Now, if that's not an international incident of great moment, I don't know what would be.
The RT team was targeted while they were filming near a Lebanese army base, which they had permission to do. And you've seen the footage. How likely is it that you think they were deliberately targeted by the IDF on that bridge?
Without a scintilla of doubt. Not only were they in press uniform, not only was it broad daylight, but the very telephones that they use and the electronic equipment that they use is on the Israeli database, clear as can be. It's because they were telling the audience the truth about what's happening in Lebanon that they were deliberately targeted. This is not a nighttime raid. This is not a raid where anything was obscure. These were known RT journalists in broad daylight, in a public place, on a bridge, giving a report to their audience, which is what journalists are supposed to be doing. And even worse, if I may, not a single British newspaper has even reported this. Not one. Not a single news outlet has carried the news of what was very nearly the murder of a British citizen journalist and television reporter. Not one British newspaper covered it. That tells you the state capture, which Israel is responsible for, of so many Western countries, to the point that governments will destroy themselves, will destroy their entire political positions for a country of 9 million people on the Mediterranean. It just doesn't compute in any political sense, let alone moral sense.
We have this discrepancy because the IDF is claiming it warned civilians before striking an area, but the Lebanese army did not receive any notice. That's according to Steve himself. How would you explain that?
Well, their warnings, of course, are fatuous and hollow. They tell people to clear out of places, but they don't tell them where they can safely clear out to. They don't tell them how they can possibly clear out. They drop leaflets over high-rise blocks, giving moments' notice. to hundreds of people living there that their building is about to be bombed. And that's why the casualty rate in Lebanon, pro rata, Lebanon is a tiny country, you know, as not much bigger than my own country of Scotland in terms of population. That's why pro rata, the kill rate in Lebanon is higher than it is in Iran right at this moment. They're destroying churches, schools, hospitals, and of course, civilians, totally randomly. When you bomb an entire apartment block and bring it to the ground, how can you possibly know who's going to be killed or injured in that savage attack? So, one good thing will come out of this. Thank God that Ali and Steve are safe, is that we now know far more about the absolute ruthlessness and recklessness of these people that so many countries are still prepared to call their ally.
Yeah, I mean, like footage of the attack, it has drawn a lot of attention online. It's been shared pretty widely. What motivation is there for the Israeli army to continue to target journalists so openly?
It's a culture of impunity. They've gotten away with so much, they figure that they can get away with anything. And by and large, they're right about that. The sanction against them for their crimes is non existent. People still queue up to give them money, to give them weapons, to shield them in international organizations, whether it's the United Nations or FIFA, which just the other day, despite its conduct towards Russia, despite its conduct towards Iran, gave Israel a clean bill of health. They're even in the Eurovision Song Contest, though that might be held as a punishment by some people. This little country of Israel has impunity, and it behaves like it. If you are a rogue state that no one ever holds to account, why would you stop murdering and maiming and causing mayhem all over the world? They won't stop until they're stopped. I'm sorry. It's as blunt as that.
George, it's always good to see you. Many thanks for your time today. We've been speaking to former British lawmaker and host of the mother of all talk shows, George Galloway. Thank you.